And we are live here in Chicago. It's Carcone Carne. In quarantine, I'm James Van Osdell, and joining us from not Chicago right now, clearly, because he's sitting outside as it's snowing where I am, it is the very funny comedian Calvin Evans. Good evening, Calvin.
Hey, how you doing?
You, sir, hosting Zanies on New Year's Eve. And this is the world we live in. Doing socially distant stand-up. Yes, it's weird, but at the same time, we acknowledge its weirdness. This is the world we live in now.
Yeah, the show I think is the perfect mix of social distance. You get to stay home. You get to see a live comedy show. It's live because we're treating the Zanies in Rosemont like a studio. So you get to
Awesome.
stay home, and we're filming. It's a live broadcast from the club. We got a Zoom audience, and so you still get live laughter and everything. So you get everything from the comfort of your home.
I love it. And who else is on the bill that night on New
We
Year's?
got Jeannie Dugan, Michael Isaac, and Chris Higgins, all Chicago comics. Very funny.
Now it feels like, and you're in it. You can tell me. It feels like Chicago comedy is right there again. Like it's something's going on. We're about to have another moment on a
Absolutely.
national level.
I feel like Chicago. I feel like we always in the conversation. I feel like Chicago is the epicenter of comedy, and I'm biased because I'm from Chicago, and
Right.
I came up in Chicago. But I just feel like we have the most honest comedians because we're not an industry driven town. So you get to grow as a comedian organically without feeling the pressures of, oh, I have to be this so I can get a TV show, or be this to be to get something from the industry on the coast. So I like Chicago comedy. It's original and it's organic.
How much? I'm assuming a lot, but how much of your Chicago-ness is part of your comedy identity, part of your act, part of who you are on stage?
I feel like I don't talk about Chicago much, but I think it's in my DNA, and it just in how I deliver comedy. Like, I mean, I can go anywhere and perform in front of any crowd because I came up in Chicago. It's not specific.
You do a bit about gentrification that, to me, I mean, if you're from Chicago, it couldn't possibly ring more true. I mean, that was spoken by a dude who's lived in the city and seen it happen time and again in every neighborhood.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
truck rolling up.
yeah, and because I grew up in Logan Square, and I still live in Logan Square, so I've seen it in both ways. Where it was just like, hey, you mean to tell me you could have did this the entire time? Like that's how it feels. Like, oh, you could have this McDonald's didn't have to be like this. You could have just had a nice McDonald's here, and public transportation, and a nice police presence in the neighborhood. So yeah,
It's crazy. I try to explain to my children, you see, kids, back in the day, you couldn't walk around Wrigley Field at night.
yeah,
And now, of course, it's like it's Disney World.
yeah. So
The
that's I
sort of
mean, but that's the thing where at the end of the joke, if you haven't seen it, at the end of the joke, it's like, oh man, this is amazing. But can I stay? It's like, no, you got to get the hell out of here. You got to go. This isn't for you. So that's the bummer. You get to see it become better, then you got to leave.
So with 2020 ending, we're all good now, right? Everything's fine.
Absolutely not.
We push the reset button on New Year's. We're all good.
I think that's the only thing that got us through 2020. Thinking that, man, we just got to get through this year and we'll be fine. I think that was in our mind. We was like, as long as we can get to 2020, we'll be fine. It's like, no, it's COVID is still here. There's still unemployment, and
And
we
COVID
still
is
got to stay
actually
in our home.
worse now. COVID is actually worse.
Right. It doubled down in 2021.
It did. It did. And I still haven't seen the murder hornets. So they're still out there.
Murder Hornets. I forgot about the Murder Hornets. That's the Murder Hornets. They making a rounds. They coming back around this way.
That's right. So over the past year, obviously you perfected, you worked on your act, you've done some cool stuff, which we're going to talk about. Did you bake any bread? Did you knit anything? Did you take on any hobbies?
You know what? I started cycling. I
Really?
started cycling. Yes, every day I was cycling 20 miles every day during quarantine. Well, not quarantine, but the pandemic. I think the quarantine meant I was supposed to stay in the house.
Yes.
But no, I didn't stay in the house. I was sitting around gaining weight, and I said, you know what? I had a knee injury from 2019, so I said I need to get active. Pulled a bike out of the garage and just start riding every day.
See, I did something similar. I started walking, going for like super long walks,
Mhm.
beginning of June. one, because I was eating like a jackass, but two, it was just a way to kind of tune out all the bullshit I was getting sucked into. I was doom scrolling. I couldn't like put the phone down. I was just getting more and more angry, and I'm like, I just need to walk away from this. And similarly, I did the same thing. I just left the house.
Yeah, and I feel like now I can't not cycle. I feel like it's a part of my life now.
That's
So I think
awesome.
that was one thing that I'm glad that I picked up during during quarantine pandemic. I don't even know what to call it anymore. 2020.
Yeah, 2020. That says it all. You watch a lot of TV. You watch
All of them.
Netflix,
I watched.
the Last
Uh,
Dance. That's
la-
something.
the Last Dance documentary is. I think that was the first leg of the pandemic, and I feel like that documentary like that saved me.
That's what stepped up after Tiger King. If we're looking back on the chronology, I believe Last Dance was next in line for binging after Tiger King. I couldn't stop watching. Of course, being from the Chicago area, I mean, we remember living through this and seeing all this. But MJ might be kind of a dick.
No,
Watching,
no, definitely, he's definitely a dick. I don't think any. If you had any questions, I think they've been answered about Michael Jordan behind closed doors. He was a gambling. He had a gambling problem, and he was an asshole.
but he is the best.
At the end of the day, if you are the best at what you can do, you can be whoever you want to be at all times.
Absolutely. So if you're just joining us, that is Calvin Evans. He is part of the New Year's Eve show. It is Zanies. It is live streaming. You can be part of the show without having to leave home, which is pretty much how everything is enjoyed this year. But I mean, the beer is definitely cheaper at home.
Absolutely, no 2 drink minimum.
No 2 drink minimum. You're not sitting on top of someone who you might not be interested in sitting next to. The seats are tight, so I mean, you can spread out. You can man spread. I mean, really,
Absolutely.
it's ideal. It's a win. Let's talk a little bit about your time on television. Recently on Conan, which was pretty sweet.
Yeah, you know what? That was yes. I'm sorry about that. I was letting you finish. That was something that I was super excited to do because I was supposed to be on an actual show back in March. March 31st, I was supposed to
Of
be
course,
make,
yeah.
making my late night debut, and the pandemic happened, and that was a bummer. But the producer, he reached out to me, said, "Hey, we want to try something new, and you were the last one up. So would you be interested in doing it?" I'm like, I have nothing else to do, so let's take a stab at it. So they set me up with a long range lens, and I was able to do my set. It was a shorter set because I think 5 minutes would have been a little. It would have got weird after a while, but they kept it to 2 minutes, and I feel like it worked out.
Yeah, the first time or two that you've done something virtually like this, I'm sure it's weird trying to find your cadence and your rhythm without the give and take of a crowd, because there's a timing to this. Didn't seem to be an issue watching you on Conan, but tell me, was that weird to kind of adjust your approach to our new
No,
world?
no, you know what? Back in May, I was sitting around. I wasn't doing stand up, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna get online, and I'm just doing 30 minutes of new material every week. So I did that for 3 weeks straight, and I kind of trained because I'm used to being on Instagram and just kind of just talking into my phone about things. So I took that approach to it. Where I was like, I know what I'm saying is funny, so why wait for someone to laugh at it? Because as soon as I record that video and I post it, I like people will laugh. So I took that approach with stand up virtually, and also with that it helped out because I said I know what I'm saying is funny. I just got to keep my pace going and my rhythm going, and people they'll laugh at their own on their own terms at home watching it. So I think that worked out for me.
You know what this tells me? You should do a podcast.
It's so many podcasts. I'm like I don't even know. I want to be able to stand out and talk about something different.
Oh, I don't believe that. I mean, you already have the comfort level. And
Yeah, but I want it to be like I want to find like a niche like pocket of like podcasts.
oh, dude, what's left? I mean, I think every corner, every weird and frightening corner of the world's already been turned into a podcast. I think you just got to go straight down the middle.
You know what? You're right. You're right. You looking for a partner?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's you, yes, absolutely. But tell me a little bit about your writing process, because you touched on this with the video stuff you're mentioning. You just kind of riff on stuff. You don't like put everything down word for word. Your act isn't meticulously spelled out. You kind of work off an outline, don't you, when you perform?
Yeah, I used to try to write, and I found myself when I get on stage and I'm trying to remember something, I start missing the point. So if I have an idea in my head, so like the ugly people bit that I did on Conan, that was like kind of parted out. It was just like, oh, ugly people do amazing things. Who are some ugly people that do amazing things? If this person wasn't ugly, would they have done this thing? So it's just like that idea process. And then going on stage, and a lot of times when I step on stage with a new joke, it's like, I don't know if this is funny, but I've thought about it as much as possible. Let me just make this, let me just talk to y'all. And I feel like my comedy is very conversational and observational. So it's like I'm just kind of talking to you about things that I see and making it make sense to me.
It is very comfortable and conversational, very approachable. That bit in particular, the ugly bit. I mean, Steve Jobs wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be having this conversation. Technology would have never advanced if he looked like Brad
Absolutely.
Pitt.
Absolutely. Because what has Brad Pitt ever done to advance society?
Well, it's probably a bad example. I think he's done a lot of philanthropic stuff, but the point is made.
But I'm saying if he wasn't a good looking guy, he wouldn't be able to act in movies to make the money to give back to people.
Fair, totally
That's
fair.
that's what I'm saying. Ugly people have to be like, you know what? I got to create something that doesn't exist, and I got to make it so amazing that people forget how I look. They gotta look past my looks and be like, man, that guy is awesome. So that's the idea behind that bit.
You did the show Bring the Funny. I love what I loved about watching your act on Bring the Funny. You could hear and actually see Keenan Thompson audibly laughing at the stuff you were saying on stage. That had to be really gratifying.
It was the first round. The first round was amazing. With competition shows, when every day is like, I just want to make it to the next round. And that
Yeah,
first round was amazing. The second round, not so much. I got sent home. But I think the standout moment for me doing Bring the Funny was when Jeff Foxworthy stood up out of his chair and said, "You are a stand-up comedian." Like that meant a lot coming from somebody that's been in comedy forever. Kind
yeah.
of. So and that's the ultimate, tilt to the hat. Especially coming from Chicago and being around great comedians and seeing great comedians out of Chicago, it's just like, man, thank you.
It's interesting. You talked about the way you approached the pandemic and lockdown. You did the videos. You just kind of figured shit out. That is such a Chicago thing. I talked to a lot of Chicago musicians, and it's that woodshedding thing that we do in Chicago. You just kind of hunker down. It's snowing out right now. Fuck it. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna write a song. I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna figure out my act. I mean, it's the Chicago way.
And I feel like that's Chicago. We've been having pandemics every winter, what we like,
Real.
or quarantines. Like it's like you got to stay in the house, and I think that's the beauty of Chicago is nobody's coming to get us, so we gotta take care of ourselves. That's why that's
That's
why I
it.
think we so
That's it. All right.
that's why I
So
think it's so amazing.
New Year's Eve, top to bottom. It is all Chicago. It is the Zanies New Year's Eve show. This is going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. And really, I mean, what a, you've got a great audience for this. We're all hungry to laugh for entertainment. It's like do something, humor us, please, distract us from everything we've just experienced. Let's start the new year right.
Yeah, but I mean, the idea of this show was to the concept of the show initially started out as like a weekly streaming show in Chicago featuring Chicago. So Chicagoans could get a taste of comedy, bring some levity to what's going on. So they could stay home, with Lori Lightfoot, stay at home order, everybody stay home. We'll send the comedy to your house. And Chicago comics to be able to come in and make a few bucks performing on a semi-regular basis. So that was the idea of the show, and it just kind of landed where it was like, you know what, let's test this out on New Year's Eve, because this is gonna be so much different. Like people can't go out, can't get dressed up, so it's like let's take the party to the house and bring some funny. And if Lori Lightfoot, I don't know if she's watching, but if Lori Lightfoot wants to come out and please come on down to Zanies if you want to zoom in. We'd love to have you on the show.
Is Zany's one of those rooms as a comic that you just you have to play it? It's one of those must play rooms.
I'll say if you come through Chicago, you got to touch the Zanies stage. Have you been to the Zanies in Old Town?
Oh, of course. I mean, that was the only one I knew for so long.
Yeah, so I mean, even when you walk into that room, you see all the history, 30 plus years of history on that wall, 40 plus years of history on that wall. It's just like I have to be a part of that. If I come through Chicago, you got to be a part of that.
Right on. And you were part of it on New Year's Eve. Calvin Evans, very funny dude. What do you got planned for next year? Staying at home a lot, at least for the first half.
Well, yeah, a lot of staying at home. Hopefully, if this show goes well, we can get enough people to tune in. This could hopefully turn into a regular
I would
occurrence.
love that. And then you could turn that into a podcast. You could do the live stream, save the audio, turn it into a podcast. There it is.
Exactly. Do some interviews with the comedians afterwards.
Yeah.
You sound like an executive producer. That's what you sound like.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
But I'm on the show. I'm a recurring character on the show Southside on Comedy Central. So I just got word they're going to be filming, hopefully back in Chicago in March if everything goes well. So I'm looking forward to just getting back to working on my acting chops and being on TV again.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Shameless or Chicago PD. I mean, you've done some stuff.
Just a little bit. If you're watching, please check out my. I have a half-hour special that I shot this past summer on Epic, called Unprotected Sets. So if you want to watch it for free, head over to my website, calvinevanscomedy.com. You can watch my half hour, learn a little bit about me.
I love it, dude. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you live right here on my computer in 2 nights.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you. Are you doing the VIP, or are you just doing the regular ticket?
I'm gonna fly coach.
Okay. Hey, you're gonna get the same. It's gonna be the same show. It's gonna be the same show, minus us being able to see you.
Right on.